Happy Thursday, Kipsters. Today we are going to be continuing our work on the treble clef and reading the notes on the staff. Today we're going to specifically talk about a note called middle C. And this note isn't particularly super important to you when we are going to be playing our recorders, but it is important to know what this note is when you see it, so that when you come across it, you know exactly what you're supposed to be answering for that specific question. Okay, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the lessons thus far this week. I know, like I said, it's a little bit more independent work than the previous ones have been. And this is just so I can get an idea and a feel of where you guys are at with this. Okay, so again, happy Thursday, and we are going to continue. So take your time. If you need to catch up to the Thursday Near Pod, go ahead and do so now. Remember also that when I do give you that independent time to work, I will ask you to freeze the YouTube video so that you can work on the independent work on your own without too much of my help. Okay. So again, once you're on Thursday, go ahead and click next. If you're not there yet, just pause me and then get there. So I'm going to do it now. Next. Our do now for today. All right, we're gonna do a do now again. It's gonna be pretty simple. We're just gonna fill in the missing note names. Okay. So as you can see here, I posted a picture, and you can see here I kind of put down middle C. I don't think it's going to be in this one, but you can see middle C down here. And I just have every note from line to space identified and marked if you need that picture. All right. So on your do now, notes of the treble clef. So just a quick, you guys can do text if you want, or you can do write. I'm going to do text for right now. So just some tips for this one. If I were you, I would start with the spaces first. So you see the spaces are on the left side, and then you have the lines on the right side. So you can do all the spaces first so that you don't get confused about which note goes where. All right, so remember we do space equals face. All right, and our first letter of the word face is F. All right, so we put our F right here. Okay, and let's go with our last letter of the word F. F-A-C-E is our fourth letter, so we put it in the fourth space from the bottom. So our E goes there. Okay, I'm gonna go over and switch to the line so you guys can fill in the rest by yourself on your do now. And then I'll move on so you guys can finish this on your own if you need the extra time. All right, let's do every good boy does fine. We're gonna work with that one today. And we're gonna look for the third space here, the third line. All right, so we're looking for the third line. I'm going to count it. 1, 2, 3 from the bottom, and we go all the way over, and we see there's a circle there waiting for us to put a note in it. So we're going to find the third word of our acronym. Every good boy, boy, and it starts with a B, so we're going to put B. And I'm going to change the color of these so we know that these are the line notes. B. All right, and our B goes there. All right, I want to let you do the last ones on your own so that I'm not helping you too much, especially on the lines, the ones I think we need the most work on. So go ahead and fill that out. Pause me, take your time to do it, and then move on when you are ready. I'm going to click next now. If you're not ready, again, just pause me and then move on when you are. Moving on. All right, here is a picture of the treble clef staff notes. So you can see that all of these notes we have learned before, from the bottom line to the top line to the spaces. There are two notes there on the bottom, C and D, the first two red and orange notes you see that we have not discussed, and that is kind of what we're going to discuss right now. All right, so again, as I was saying, the treble clef isn't the only notes in music. We have the bass clef, we have the treble clef, we have the alto clef, we have the tenor clef, and those are more for singers and different instruments that might use those clefs. But these clefs give us a range of these notes go in many ways. They go very high and they go very low. So we need more space to put more notes. They can't all fit on the treble clef at the same time. It doesn't work. It's not big enough. So we need that's why we have these notes down here. Like you see a C going through it is a line note. That's because it's a ledger line. All right, and we haven't talked about ledger lines much, but that note, that line going through that middle C is a ledger line. And you can imagine that if there was 4 notes above this F, that there would be 2 ledger lines because 2 of them have to go into a space and 2 of them go on the lines. All right, just like this D right here is technically in a space. All right, it's in a space between this line on C and this line on E. It's in a space, it's just resting under the staff. All right, so we need to remember those two notes because there isn't really any mnemonics to remember those. It's just you know that before E comes the letter D, and it would go on a space because the note after it, because E is on a line, and then the letter C comes before D, and it would go on a line because D is in a space. All right, confusing, not too challenging, not too important to know the difference right now, but we're going to dive a little deeper into middle C. Okay, where does it belong? In music, we have a note called middle C. Middle C lives in between the treble clef and bass clef. For the time being, we will focus on where it lives in the treble clef. So it's called middle C because, again, it lives in the middle of the treble clef and the middle of the bass clef. All right. Now, you can read middle C on bass clef as well, but it looks different when you read it on bass clef. So that's why we're only going to focus on treble clef. It looks like that note I just showed you when it's a middle C on treble clef, okay? And that's all we're learning right now. We're not learning bass clef at the moment anyway. Okay, so again, we have notes here on the scale, but this time it only goes from C to C. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's the notes we would be reading, or that's what it would sound like if we were to sing that. Okay, and as you can see, the middle C is down at the bottom with a line going through it. All right, and after it gets to G, it goes to A. We all know this. We only know there's 7 letters of the alphabet. All right, if you guys were for a reference, if we were singing la 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 la, middle C is always the note we start on. I always start on middle C for us. So you guys have sang middle C very much in your time with me if you've sang with me before. I always start on middle C. It's a great point to start off for singers. Okay. So again, you can see that middle C right there, and you can see middle C, the one that goes with face, F-A-C-E. That's where that C goes, and this one lives at the bottom, all right? So don't get confused with that. This C lives at the bottom, middle C, and this is C. Technically, it's called C5, but we haven't. That's only for piano players and for advanced people, but this is C in the space, all right? High C in the space. Again, now I'm giving you a reference of middle C in between the bass clef and treble clef. So as you can see, this is the bass clef, which we haven't learned too much about, and the top is the treble clef. All right, the treble clef is the one we've been focusing on a lot. Every good boy does fine, etc. And middle C lives right in between them. So there's an imaginary line here, and it goes right through middle C. All right, just to get your brain thinking really quickly. If this note is C, and we went one down, right on top, we'd rest this right on the space. It'd be on the top of the bass clef. What letter comes before C in the alphabet? If this note is middle C, this note is before. What comes before? B. B, right. Becomes what comes before C? B. What comes after C? D. All right. So you can see right here on the top of the bass clef would be a B, and right under the treble clef would be a D. All right. So again, we're not working too much with bass clef because it doesn't pertain to our recorders, but just to give you a little insight, these notes continue to go on forever and ever and ever until they can't anymore. All right, moving on. Just another picture of middle C and where it goes. All right, a little spread out for you this time. These are all the notes on the staff without repeating. And again, don't forget the note D. So you can see these are all the spaces. D is included in those spaces. Just like G up here, we haven't talked about G. G is up here as well. All right. So we have D at the bottom of the space. It doesn't count in FACE, but it does come before the letter E, which is the first line. So we know that D lives there. And the top line of this is F. All right. Every good boy does fine. So after F comes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And we just assume that the next letter up in the next space, because we go line, space, line, space, line, space, line, space. And it never does line, 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 unless it's intentionally. When we're reading notes like this, line, space, line, space, line, space. All right, so as F is on a line, the next note will be on a space, and it's always a letter after it in the alphabet, unless it's G, then it goes to A. So this note up here is G, lives at the top, and D lives at the bottom. All right, fill in the blanks. Make sure you know where middle C is. So again, I have this picture of middle C. You can reference that picture if you want to get the rest of these down. Otherwise, you guys should be good to get most of this on your own. I'm going to help you out here on a couple of these. All right, so we have a few notes here. Not most of them don't go up past G, which is nice for us. We only have to worry about a few notes. So I'm just going to go ahead and do one of those for you. I'll just do G. So if we have our lines, we're looking for lines and spaces here. All right, we're going with lines in the first one. Every good from bottom to top. We always start with every bottom to top. Every good. Second space, our letter is G, so we're going to put a G. All right. Skip down. We have this note here. All right. We just talked about it, but I don't really remember what Mr. Isaac said about acronyms. So I'm going to just check this picture real quick. Oh, right. He said that there isn't an acronym for C and D. All right. So, but we know that that note looks like a middle C. All right. So I'm going to put a C there because it simply looks like a middle C. All right. If you see a note that looks like that, make it a middle C because that's exactly what it is. All right. And I'm going to do one more for you guys. This one right here. So again, it's under the line and it's not in the first space. So it's not F because the first space is F. All right, but it's under this line, and I know that this line is E because when we do lines, we worry about every good boy does fine. That's the first line. It's under the first line. So what note comes before, what letter in the alphabet comes before E? A, B, C, D, E. So if this note is before the line, if we're going up, this note is D. And you can double check right here. You don't have to just guess and use my same thought process. You can literally just look at the picture and try to fill it in. So go ahead and take your time to fill out the rest of this. All right, I'm going to move on. Remember, pause me in the YouTube video if you need to. I believe your exit ticket is coming up after this. Pause me. I'm moving on now. Complete exit ticket and resume lesson tomorrow. Again, we don't have a music lesson. It will continue on Monday, but your exit ticket for today. Fill in the missing note. Add at least one middle C. So this doesn't say give a middle C. I have two C's here. I have one right here, and I have one down here. All right. One of these, just draw a middle C for me. Okay, it doesn't have to be, I'm not going to show you how to do it. I want to see that you know how to do it on your own without my help. But I will give you the answer to one of them. So this is the other C. This is the one I don't want. All right. You can write that one there if you want. But for the other C that's right here, sorry about that. For the other C that's right here, I want you to draw middle C. All right, and go ahead and do one of the D's like that too. So go ahead and do the D under the space. I'll give you the D that's up here. So every good boy does. All right, so I'm gonna put a D right here for you all. And then on the other one, go ahead and write the other D. All right. I didn't give you the picture today because I wanted to see how much you guys knew on the end of this week with these notes. But I have a D right here, and on this D right here, go ahead and just write the one that comes under the line. All right. I know it's a little tricky. We didn't talk too much about the letter D, but I figure you guys can get this pretty easily. I'm gonna do one more for you so that we can so I can finish this out, and then you guys can finish your exit ticket on your own. All right. I'm gonna do this G down here. Sorry, this E right here. All right. I'm gonna do the one on the space. Every good boy does fine. If I was doing it on the line, it would be on the first line, but I'm gonna do the ones on the space. All right. F. So when we're doing spaces, we do space equals face. F, A, C, E. All right. And there's our E right there. All right. So I gave you three of them, and I gave you a task of putting a D under the line here and a middle C here. All right. This is also called D4. So if I ever say D4, that's the line. That's the one I'm talking about. All right. But again, that's a piano reference, not too important for you to know that. Once you guys have finished that exit ticket, you are done for the day, okay? And after that, you will complete and stop, all right? Hope you guys have been enjoying these lessons. Again, these are very important for us to understand how to play the recorder even quicker than before, especially now that we're online learning. We're going to need as much help as we can without all the explanation. So hopefully, again, you guys are understanding this. It may come confusing to you, but I am trying my best to make sure we get there as efficiently as possible, as long as you are working as hard as well. Again, Mr. Isaac has 3 things for you as always. You are kind, you are smart, you are important. I can't wait to see you all so soon, and I'm looking forward to that day. Until then, have an awesome day, you guys, and I will see you on Monday.